Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we are going to be casting our ever-critical eye over another 10th edition Imperial Guard Codex datasheet. And this time, we are going to be looking at what very well may be the best transport in not just the Guard, but the entire meta, the entire game of Warhammer 40k. And for the first time ever, I'm not talking about the Chimera, I'm talking about the only vehicle the Imperium ever looted back from the Orcs. I'm talking about the Taurox. As a Guard veteran, I never thought I would see the day when the Taurox meta was not only incoming, it was here. And so without further ado, let's not mess around with this one. Let's mount up, roll out.
Now let's charge into this video.
As is tradition, let us begin with a cheeky gander at the Taurox's stat line. First up, it has a movement of 12. Now, in some armies, this wouldn't be particularly noteworthy, but in the Guard, it is really good. A lot of our vehicles are only movement 10, and you might think that 2 inches doesn't make a big difference. But let me tell you, it's a big deal. 2 inches lets you basically pivot round things and still maintain a really good movement. 2 inches just lets you go that extra distance to get past an L-shaped ruins corner so you can see the enemy unit hiding behind it. And if you're in certain detachments like Hammer of the Emperor, that means you can just go straight through walls. You can go straight through walls, go 12 inches, and combining that with orders, with the Taurox's ability, you can start threatening the enemy's deployment zone from turn 1. Tauroxes are fast, and movement wins games. As we will be deep diving later on, this is what makes them so good. As for its defensive profile, toughness 8, 3+, and 10 wounds means that this is a light vehicle. Very, very light. It's less tough than the Chimera and has less wounds than the Chimera. You really want to be thinking of the Taurox as literally just... It's like an Orc truck. Like I said, the Imperium looted it back from the Orcs. This is just an Orc truck. You don't really care about its guns. You don't really care about its defensive profile. The point is that you can put some incredibly shooty infantry in something like a Taurox, and it can just go balls to the wall forward. And if it dies, it dies. You don't care. So the durability is low. And if you're looking for a bit more of a tanky tank and a bit more of a durable transport, you're going to want to go towards the Chimera. This is a one-way ticket. The Chimera is an IFV. Legion 7 is standard issue in the Guard, not much to write home about. Objective control of 2 is fine. Being able to dump a little bit of extra objective control on an objective is good. A lot of the time when I've talked about objective control 2 in the past with things like heavy weapon teams, I've said it's not such a big deal. That's because typically those guys are at the back. Objective control 2 on a more aggressive unit is actually noteworthy because it's going to be in the mid-board. It's going to be going towards objectives, and having a couple of pips of extra OC can flip objectives, can let you do secondaries, and can just be an actual tool in your toolbox. Long story short, the Taurox is fast and cheeky, but it's not very durable. But what about its weapons and war gear? Well, hypothetically, the Taurox does have a twin autocannon, and you can also upgrade it with a Stormbolter. Twin autocannon's not so bad. Twin linked on a strength 9, AP -1 damage to the weapon is okay. The twin link really does help get past this sort of trying to wound a lot of things on 5, especially vehicles. Yeah, it's nice. It's all right. And who could complain about having a free Stormbolter? The reason I say hypothetically it's got these weapons is because you're almost never going to fire them. Because the Taurox's ability encourages you to advance with this unit every single time. So it's got the weapons. Very occasionally it'll fire the weapons, but you don't really care about its durability. You don't really care about its offensive capabilities. You care about its datasheet ability and how that ties in with its maneuverability. So I'll stop blueballing you guys. I keep talking about its ability. I keep talking about maneuverability. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Rapid deployment. Units can disembark from this transport after it has advanced. Units that do so count as having made a normal move that phase and cannot declare a charge in the same turn, but can otherwise act normally. This is a wildly powerful ability to have. It's really good. It was decent in the index. It is phenomenal in the codex. And that's because of the different detachments that we get. And we'll get to the detachment juice in just a moment. But let me just deep dive this generically a little bit first. So the first reason why this is so good is because of the kind of units that Guard have access to. A lot of other factions have things like you can move and advance and get out. But they tend to have like combat infantry or units with a little bit of shooting. Guard can take a 10-man, let's say, Kazakin unit. And that Kazakin unit can jump out of the Taurox after it's advanced. And they can then order themselves to either first rank fire or take aim. And then you're not hitting the enemy with a few bolter shots. You're hitting them with 2 plasma guns, 2 melter guns, a melter mine, probably, a hotshot sniper rifle, and a plasma pistol. That's a lot of firepower. And it's not just Kazakin that go well in Taurox, although I think they are one of the best choices. You've also got cheaper units like Catachans and Engineers. So putting your 10 Catachans inside of Taurox is a pretty decent thing to do because of the fact they have got Scout. So they can scout forward with the transport. Then the transport can move its 12 inches. Then it can advance. Then they can get out. And it's a great way of being able to have a cheap unit with a couple of flamers. Again, get round an L-shaped ruin, maybe start clearing away some infiltrators like Rattlings, Mandrakes, Space Wing Scouts, and it's just a very cheap way of being able to do that. Same with Engineers. Engineers go really, really well with Taurox is because you can, they've got Scout as well, so you can go 6 inches, then you can go 12 inches, then you can advance, then the Engineers can get out, and then the Engineers can use grenades for free, and then you've also got the Melter Mine. So you could have some real, not Melter Mine, the Remote Mine. So however you slice it, you can see the speed of the Taurox combining with the scout of certain infantry choices, combining with the damage that those units can bring to the table is unlocking loads of potential. There's just loads of natural combos. We're not having to work hard at this. It's put a unit in a transport, that transport massively enhances that unit. Now it doesn't work all the time. I don't think I'd ever put a unit of Kriegers or Cadians in here. I struggle to see when I would put Scions in, but someone could probably persuade me on that one. But if you've got Scout Infantry, which is either cheap or can do damage or both, like with Engineers, Kazakin and Catachans, the Taurox is just such a natural home for them. Now, I know I said that the Taurox pairs well with Scout, that's kind of its natural home, but there are a couple of non-Scout options that you're going to want to consider. One of them is the Krieg heavy weapon teams with Flamers, because you could move the Taurox 12, you could even move the Taurox so it could go 15, then these guys could disembark 3, so that's an 18-inch move in total for the heavy weapon team itself. Then they've got an 18-inch range on those Krieg Flamers, which they could burn the enemy with. And then if the enemy then tries to move around to deal with them, you could overwatch and burn them again. And if the enemy shoots them to death, you could then burn them for a 3rd time. So Tauroxes aggressively putting Krieg Flamers down your opponent's throat can create a really big dilemma for your opponent. But all of this has been from a very limited perspective so far. We've just been looking at the Taurox in terms of alpha striking and getting those first blows in there. This ability to rapid redeploy powerful, shooty, damage-dealing infantry at a drop of a hat is not something that should only be considered at the beginning of the game. You can definitely leverage this throughout the game. Because not only could you have your Tauroxes with infantry well staged, and they can just come out when the time is right, but there's nothing stopping you from potentially re-embarking inside the transport, let's say, turn 2 or turn 3, and then zooming off somewhere else and then delivering a later turn blow as well. Tauroxes are fast enough where they can, and 40k boards tend to be small enough where you can start getting from not necessarily one side completely over to the other side, but you can get from one area of the board to another area of the board. And because you're a shooter unit, not a combat unit that's jumping out of the Taurox, you can start interacting with more areas of the board very easily. So this is a very good early game ability. It's often used in an early game context. Tauroxes do die, so maybe you don't get a chance this late game, but don't forget you can get back in the transport. Don't forget you could be leveraging this in more than one turn. Now, we mentioned that the Taurox does well in specific detachments, and I promised that we'd come back around and deep dive that, and that's what we're going to do right now. So generally, the Taurox is good in every detachment. So a combined arms detachment with maybe a unit of Kazakin in there delivering an early blow, or a unit of engineers delivering some mines. Yeah, that's great. You can always squeeze one Taurox in almost any detachment, and it'll be able to do its fundamental job. There are some detachments, though, that really do love these things, and I think there are two that specifically are very, very, very hot with Tauroxes. The first one is the Mechanized Assault Detachment. Now, I've been struggling with Mechanized Assault personally, because the way I like to run Mech Guard tends to be in a more traditional way with infantry inside Chimeras. However, I keep an open mind about these things. I keep an open mind, and I think that having lots of elite infantry, I know I said earlier you wouldn't put Scions in Tauroxes, but I think this is one of those exceptions that prove the rule. Having an army which basically starts off with 3 units of Scions maxed out in Tauroxes, 3 units of Kazakin maxed out in Tauroxes, I think that is basically the foundation. That is the fundamental principle of the Mechanized Assault Detachment. And that's where I think you go from taking 1 or 2 Tauroxes to spamming 6 of them. In a similar note, I think you do the same thing in the Hammer of the Emperor detachment. Now, when I first saw the Hammer of the Emperor detachment, I thought it was absolutely trash. But I've been doing my homework, and I've been, again, keeping an open mind. And I actually think that Hammer of the Emperor has the potential to be an unbelievably strong detachment. And that's because of the Taurox. I know it feels wrong. Oh, but the Hammer of the Emperor is meant to be all about, like, heavy tanks. I know. But just removing the vibes for a second and just looking at this from a purely sort of efficiency point of view, Hammer of the Emperor allows all of your squadron vehicles, and the Taurox is squadron, to auto advance like 6 inches. So you've got, imagine that, you've got a unit of Kazakin in a Taurox which can scout 6 inches, move 12 inches, auto advance 6 inches. Kazakin can then get out. That's another 3-inch threat range. That's a 27-inch move on that unit of Kazakin. And then they've got a 12-inch threat range for to be their most effective with like rapid fire, or 6-inch even if you want to take into account melter range. But the point is, you are hitting the enemy turn 1. You might be thinking, well, what about terrain? Hammer of the Emperor has the stratagem to break through walls, and the Taurox is eligible for that stratagem. So you can take a Taurox, spend a CP on it, have it go 24 inches forward, get out the Kazakin 3 inches, and turn 1, you're in your opponent's deployment zone, hitting them. And you can do that every single turn. Okay, admittedly, you can't do the scout every single turn, but you can still go 21 inches and still hit them every single turn. It's just having these Taurox darts. That's what it is. It's just darts of Tauroxes. They're like one-way attack missiles. They're like cruise missiles. There's an enemy unit. Wherever on Hammer of the Emperor, wherever the enemy is on the board, they are not safe from being hit by a Taurox dart. And the best bit about this, the Taurox is dirt cheap. At time of recording, it's 65 points. All of that potential, all of those tactics, all of those tools in your toolbox, 65 points a pop. And one of the little known things about the Taurox is you can't really tell from looking at the pictures of it. The GW pictures make it look way bigger than it is. It's tiny. It's smaller than a Rhino. It's one of the smallest transports in the game. And that's really important because it means even if you're not breaking through walls with it, it could fit round terrain. It can fit through gaps very, very easily. And most importantly, it can be hidden so easily. You can tuck it inside almost any terrain piece and it will be easily hidden. Chimeras are more durable on the surface, but if you can't see the Taurox to shoot it, it is infinitely more durable. So in summary, the Taurox is a cheap, tiny package of dilemmas for your opponent and opportunities for you as the controlling player. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you like the Taurox? Are you a believer in the Taurox? Or are you still on Team Chimera? Whether that is for logical or for emotional reasons. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe, because it really does help boost the video with the YouTube algorithm. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.